chunked. So schedules with drawings or icons. This is probably the type of schedule you think about when you think of individual student schedules. And like Jenny said, your hands may be cramping just thinking about cutting out all the pieces. So there are some prerequisite skills that you need to consider though, if you're going to use this type of schedule, especially the ability to discriminate between pictures and to understand that a picture represents an object. So if a student can do those things, they may be ready for this type of schedule. If they have those skills, but they're struggling with attending, or they're just totally tuning out a visual cue or a timer, or really struggling with transitions between activities, those may be students that would be supported by this type of schedule. These schedules are really easy to customize. It's one reason we love them. And they can include photos as well. Like you can see in the example on the left that's blown up a little bit, there's a picture of a related service provider, so the student knows when they'll be seeing that person. So you can incorporate photos within these. In the middle of the slide is a schedule that's magnetic and it's been posted on the classroom whiteboard. So there's another option. We've seen this kind of a schedule work really well in secondary classrooms when you're grouping students and maybe that group is rotating to kind of help students keep track of where they go next. Another option that uses drawings is the ChoiceWorks app. That's what you can see on the right side of the screen. And that can be used both at school and home. So for a student who uses that, it would be easy to use that in all environments. And just a little tip for Velcro. With schedules and visual supports, communication icons, anything you're using Velcro with, be consistent about which object you place the smooth or the loop side of the Velcro on. We suggest that you put that on the schedule or the stationary item, and then the hook or the rough side on all of your icons or pictures. That way, your pictures can be used in a variety of places and it will be compatible with everything that you're using. The important thing is just to be consistent with it. Here's some more examples of Velcro schedules. And I just love how creative teachers are and how many different ways they can come up with to use it. So one important thing to note with a Velcro schedule is that there's going to be a lot of pieces. And you're going to want to print extras of everything because they're easily lost, they're destroyed, sometimes purposefully, they get dirty, or sometimes the student will take them and hide them when they don't want to go to a location on your schedule, on their schedule. I know that from experience, but if you plan for it and you've got extra icons, it's really not a big deal. Hey, look, friend, I've got another blue icon. Here you go. And it makes it easy and quick. You could also have a schedule like you see at the top of this screen where they close the flap as they complete activities. And I love that. That's something I never would have thought of. Or maybe they're all closed at the beginning because it's overwhelming to see them all and the student opens them one at a time as they complete it. One challenge with this type of schedule, so something you're going to need to think about and plan ahead if you choose this, is how you're going to handle changes with that schedule type. It might be as simple as covering that activity with a Post-it note, but is there some way, or putting Velcro, clear Velcro on top of it so you can stick a different icon on top if it changes? But just thinking about how you'll address that. And then I want to point out something else that enthusiastic teachers often overlook: the placement of schedules in the classroom. So the example on the far right of the screen, you can see those 4 or 5 schedules there on that green divider. Those schedules are placed pretty close together. They look great, and clearly that teacher has taken a lot of effort and time to prepare the schedules. And I don't want to take away from that, but I do just want to express that my concern would be as students go to their schedules, they're going to be bumping into each other. There might be an elbow flying here or there, maybe a shove. I don't know. I think all kinds of things can happen. I know all kinds of things can happen related to behavior issues, frustration, when they can't get to their schedule easily, or too many students are in the same place at one time. So just to consider that. And then another thing that I would want to ask is if these students might be ready for a more simple schedule, like a checkbox format. If they can keep up with that amount of icons, little bitty pictures, and they can see their whole day at once, I would kind of question whether this schedule is what they need and whether it's the easiest for the teacher to, to implement. It's a lot of work for a teacher if they're all on that schedule. And then another thing to consider is that schedules can be kept at the student's desk, or they could be attached to a student's wheelchair. It doesn't always have to be across the room where they have to go to their schedule. Sometimes that process of getting them to their schedule needs to be eliminated. So we bring the schedule to them. So just keep in mind that the most important thing is in this realm is that students need to be able to access their schedule and use it as independently as possible. So we want to consider that and set them up for success. If you're using this kind of schedule, or if you've ever used this kind of schedule, you know how many pieces there are and what a management nightmare that can be. So students will need a place to put their icons when they've checked their schedule and pulled the next picture off. That might be a container near the schedule on the wall, like you see, or it might be a check-in system at each station that they go to and they put their icon, they match it on the check-in board. Here are some options for storage. You might have also noticed on the previous slide, there was a Ziploc bag stapled next to one of the schedules. That's another great option. It's easily replaceable if it gets torn up or whatever happens, falls down, whatever. You can easily replace a Ziploc bag. It doesn't have to be difficult or, or a big deal. And there isn't one right way to do it. It will require some planning for you, though, to determine how you want that to work and make sure you have a plan in place before you teach that to your students. If you have several students on this type of a schedule, managing and storing those icons and resetting the schedule at the end of the day is also something to think about. My favorite storage for icons was just a simple, clear tackle box like you get at Walmart that's cheap and easy. But I also love this pocket chart that's in the example here on the slide. That's another great option. And one idea for resetting schedules would be to take a picture of the schedule when it's complete and ready to be used. And then at the end of the day, allow a student to reset schedules following the picture. It's just an option. You can do whatever works for you, but that is a great job for a student. It doesn't have to be the student who uses that type of schedule. It can be any student who's able to do that job.